Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everyone? This is the SML podcast. I am your host, Joe. It is a Wednesday, so you know what that means. Pernell Vaughan, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a nice, surprisingly warm day today. I've been getting my fair share of jokes regarding that recent announcement with the discovery that, shock, rich people are paying to get their kids into school. So,
no, what?
I had no idea that was happening. But
that's crazy.
Of it is that since one of the people was Lori Loughlin, who was that lady I used to play on Full House, it's just been a day of people like making parody songs from the Full House jingle based on her situation. It's just
I had such a crush on her as a kid.
Oh, you aren't alone, man. She was the best.
She was fine.
Yeah, Uncle Jesse being like, I don't want to settle down with her. It's like, you bring the other women into that damn house half the time. Meanwhile, she shows up bringing cookies and news broadcasts and shit. Just settle down. Just go with it. And of course, once she got married into the family, we had that many more heartwarming, jingle-tuned moments on the show. So that was nice. But yeah, it's just hilarious that this is some kind of a big shock. And then it turns out they were claiming that they stumbled across it while investigating something completely unrelated. Which all the more reason makes you think they're like, well, shoot, the wrong person saw that we learned about this. We have to do something. We can't say that like we always do. We need a scapegoat. Oh, that woman, she was on Full House. She's pretty popular. Just arrest her. Just do it.
Oh, God.
She'll garner sympathy or some sort of, nostalgia bug from all of our readers, and that'll be nice. That'll just buy people. That'll just get people to pay less attention, and eventually they'll forget. And it'll just happen again. Yale needs a new stadium. Whatever. Just pay for someone's kid to get to school.
I love your rants, Pernell. You have some of the best, most unique rants I've heard on this show.
There's just so much to rant about. I can't help myself.
Oh, we got a little bit of time. What else do you want to rant about?
Well, right now, that may well be the most of it, because it's mostly that. Just, I don't know, gaming in general these days. I'm inundated. I've been trying to get back into La Mulana 2, which is a game that is honestly near and dear to my heart, considering the fact that it makes me want to pull my 2 hair follicles that I've got left out of my head. But, have you played it before, or any of the La Mulana games?
No, I haven't, sadly.
They are designed to play like ridiculously retro PC games, but they're 2D platformers. So there's tons of clues to solve adventure-esque puzzles, but they're all obscure puzzles. And sometimes you'll find a clue that's like three areas away from where you'll use it at. Sometimes the map will loop in a way that it doesn't make sense if you're looking at the map. It just happens to work that way because old games did that. And there's just a variety of like intentional design choices that will make you spit fire. And yet somehow it's appealing and engaging and enjoyable. I don't know why, but I love it. I played through the first game on 3 different consoles.
Jeez.
Because I love it that much. Like I can't explain it. Like I had this chat with some friends recently. Games that you like that you also have a horrible time trying to recommend to the point where you almost won't, because you feel like you're the only human that could like it. Like, can you think of any games in your life that have that fill that void or feel that way for you?
Man, not really. The only thing I could think of now would be Rock Band, mainly because it's so hard to find instruments that there's no point in getting into it.
Oh, no, but that still would count as a recommend thing, because the idea would be like, hey, man, if you can find some instruments, go play Rock Band. I mean, when I say what I'm saying, I mean, I like this game, but I am afraid that the chance of you not liking it is too high. I'm not even going to put myself in that position, so do not recommend. And then if they go out and buy it, in rebellion, and then come back to tell how bad it is, I'm like, that kiss my ass. I don't care if you like it or not. I told you not to buy it. It's not on me, buddy. Because some guy will do that. They'll go buy it, against your wishes just to rag on something you like. This game's terrible. I don't know what you like it so much for. Well, I warned you.
I guess Earthbound could be one of those games because it's, not everybody loves Earthbound. You have to be really into retro, old school RPGs. Kids today, they just don't get it. They're like, oh, why is there flashy backgrounds and like nothing moves?
This is stupid. He's eating garbage. He's eating a burger from the trash. Who does that?
Why is this guy taking pictures of me randomly? Is he a creep?
I do agree with you on that because, I remember there was a period where I would recommend Earthbound, but I feel like as sad as it sounds, I feel like it misses more than it hits with my recommendations. But the people that do like it really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I am such a person who adores that game. But another one that I would do that with is it's an old RPG for PS2. Creepy that I could say that even. But called Ephemeral Fantasia. It was a Konami RPG. And the premise was that it was kind of Groundhog Day-esque where you were trapped in a 3-day loop. And but you were able to realize and acknowledge it. So the whole point of the game is to break out of the loop, like Groundhog Day. And you get party members by resolving predicaments that certain people in the world face by the end of the 3-day loop. And by doing that, of course, they kind of, come to some realization and they snap out of it and boom, now they join you on the loop. And whenever it loops back, they still remember things and you find them again and hang out. But the graphics are meh. The music is a mixed bag. And you have to be such a meticulous bastard to do well at the game because you have to learn character schedules and follow them around sometimes and be in place at the right time to save them from situations and whatever. But I'll be damned if I didn't enjoy that. Just taking, this character goes to get drunk at the bar at this hour, at this time, and a guy's going to come and try to pick a fight with him. But if I show up, I can join them in the fight and befriend them, which then allows me to meet them on the third day. It's just weird, but good. But will I recommend it? Never. Never, ever, ever. Can't do it.
I might have to check it out if I could get my hands on a PS2 again.
4 episodes from now. That game was a piece of shit, Pernell.
Fucking Pernell recommending me things. He specifically said, play this, you will love it.
Exactly. I never said that.
Those were his exact words. Play this game, you will love it.
Pernell said, play this game. What? I never said that. Listen, you said it right now. You said, play this game. You bastard. Modulation.
Oh, you forgot that you will love it.
You will love it.
There we go. Just chop that up. We're set.
Recommended by Mr. Black.
Anyway, speaking of RPGs, we should probably get on to the games that you're talking about this week.
I'm ready for it. Let's fire on.
All right, first game to talk about tonight is called the Caligula Effect Overdose, developed by FuRyu Corporation, published by NIS America, released March 12th on the Switch, PS4, and Steam for $49.99. Something's amiss in the seemingly perfect world of Mobius. Escape from false paradise and return to reality, or risk losing more than just your identity. Pernell, what does that all mean?
I do know it meant that I was surprised that I didn't find Sonic anywhere in this game. I looked and could not find him. So that shocked me. But as for the game itself, this is an interesting one because, I was interested in the PS Vita version, but ended up never getting around to it because I kept telling myself, wait for sale. And then guess what? I got it on sale. Review sale. Boom. But as far as the game goes, it gives me a rather mixed impression, which I'll get into throughout the description here. But if I want to describe the plot in an interesting way, I feel as though this is this game, if I were to talk about the thing I usually rant about on these episodes in regards to how they decided to create JRPG protagonists, this game is the epitome of exactly why they feel they need to do that in their various games. Because the plot of this game is that a number of people in the real world decided or felt that their real lives were hard or problematic. They weren't happy in their real lives. So for whatever reason, somehow a virtual idol named Mew was able to create a virtual world and bring these people into it. And in this virtual world, they all take on the role of high school students who relive high school life forever.
Interesting.
so weird. And yet I'm like, as I played that my first, I was like, this is the entirety of why JRPGs are cast the way they are. This game in both is the embodiment of that. But as a result, people are generally living this utopia and they're happy. But every once in a while, a person realizes something is up and things don't seem right. So basically, they can kind of see behind the matrix. And once that happens, they decide or determine they want to escape, as a person would when they think their world is freaking whacked. And that is the world the role that you fulfill. You're a member of this group that's called the Go Home Club, a group of people who have realized the world is whacked and they want out of it. And unfortunately, everyone else who has not figured this out wants you to die because they don't want you to ruin the good thing they've got going. And this results in them getting emotional and angry. And for whatever reason in this game's world, when that happens, they go crazy and become something called a digihead, which is sort of like a human mutant-esque hybrid thing. Like they become like robotic almost and angry.
Weird.
And it's very weird. And yet, fortunately for you and your friends, the other half of this idol pair that created Mobius sides with you and decides to embolden you with the power to take on your digihead form while at the same time not losing your ever-loving marbles. So it gives you the power to fight back against these opponents. And what it results in is an interesting hybrid of a battle system. When these situations occur, when you come across digiheads out in the world, because you're walking around on like a map, like a dungeon map, and when you come across them, you engage in combat in a sort of top-down sort of style, like a large-scale map. And what ends up happening is you get to choose a series of attacks that you want to use, whether it's a basic attack, a support attack, or like an evasion maneuver. And when you use these things, the game allows you to kind of choreograph the moves. So you might say select a basic gun attack. Okay, I want to attack this guy using dual trigger. And a tempo bar will move across like a real-time gauge. And the animation of how the game perceives the attacks to progress displays on the main screen. So you can see what the enemy is about to do and what you intend to do and the effects of what will happen when you do it, so long as everything goes perfectly well. And you can move like pretty much the action itself across the time gauge to try to time when you want things to happen. Sounds weird? It is, but it's actually kind of cool too. Even better when you get more party members in your game, because then you can have one guy launch an opponent, then another guy does an attack that specifically does damage to enemies that are in the air, and then another guy does an attack on a guy who specifically hits the ground. So like when this guy hits the ground, it does double damage. So you're doing these weird combinations of attacks, and you're setting up these perfect symphonies of these perfect battle symphonies. And when it works, it really works. Like it's an enjoyable battle system, even though it's not perfect. And like I said, even though it displays the effects of the moves, if you miss, it kind of throws the whole thing out of whack. Because again, let's say you said, I want to launch the guy, then shoot him in the air, and then shoot him on the ground. If the launch attack misses, the other two kind of don't work. So it's a matter of like being careful and like having contingency plans for if your moves fail and stuff like that.
So it's kind of like programming.
Exactly. It's a battle programming game. Like the RPG battles are battle programming. Now, this is a lot of fun when you're doing it, but every once in a while you'll get to a point where you feel as though you're fighting a bunch of mobs, you're tired of programming the battles, you just want to move the heck on. Well, if you have it on like one of the easier difficulty settings, which is what I did for the purpose of this review, I know it's very unlike Pernell, but I wanted to actually progress a little in the game. The battles themselves don't become too brutal unless you fight enemies that are of a higher level than you, which does happen a couple times in the game. And when that once that's the case, you're able to actually use an auto battle system, which allows you to select the attacks for your main guy, and then everyone else's are determined by the computer. And unfortunately, it's not perfect. I've seen them do some real dumb moves. Like I have an archer character who does a move that only affects enemies in the air, yet none of the other characters are using launch attacks. So it's like, why is she doing that? But it was enough to get by some general mob fights. And then when you get into the real battles, of course, you're going to take over and manage things. As you win battles, you get skill points every once in a while, which you can use to increase the power of attacks and also to learn new moves. Skill points are shared across your entire party, so use wisely. But you get a fair amount, so it's not a big deal. Now, two things about the game that kind of bugged me, and then I'll get to one thing that I genuinely like about the game. So there is a sort of social link system in this game. For those who aren't familiar with Persona games, social links were features in those games where you could talk to people and then learn more about them, which in turn eventually led to rewards, whether it be like a party skill or an item you could equip or whatever. In this game, they went a little bonkers with the concept. There are over 500 people you can communicate with in this game and form bonds with. Now, that may sound overwhelming, and it kind of is if you dive into it, but it's also kind of dumb because what they did was the characters have, there's like NPCs all across the game. So an NPC will have like a gauge, like a rating gauge, like how close you are to them, like an acquaintance, a friend, a confidant or something. And to get through the first like 3 stages of this, you just talk to them. Like walk up to them on the map when you see them. And they're always in dungeons and stuff because there's no like walkable world map. There's a point and click world map. But you'll see them and you walk up to them and you talk and they'll just say something that pretty much came out of a box of responses. Like, did you see that TV show last night? That was something. The screen will black out and they'll come back to. And that's why I think cupcakes are disgusting. And then the game will be like, okay, your rank went up 1. And then you'll do it again. And then you'll do it again until they become your friend, which is rank 3. And at that point, they'll say something a little specifically unique to that character. Like they'll say something like, sometimes I feel like there's other voices in my head. What the heck is this about? Which will ultimately reveal what their quote-unquote trauma is. Their trauma is a problem that it pretty much results in a side quest. Like it might say dissociative identity disorder is their trauma. And the way you fix it is by befriending someone who's familiar with like psychology or something in the game, which will in turn cure them of this trauma. And if you can do that, you get a reward for it, like an equipable equipable attack item, defense item, or accessory item. So you could go bonkers and just kind of dive into this wholesale and just try to do it for every person in the game, which is fun. But I kind of feel like it's pasted on. It should have just been like a job board, if anything, like in a normal RPG. Go up to the job board. This guy wants you to find a friend to help him cure psychology to psychosis. Fine, that's cool with me. But to have you talk to these people and get canned responses that don't mean anything, it seems like a waste of time. And even though there's a skip button for it, you still have to push the skip button and watch the screen go black and then have it come back and go resolve. But yeah, it's kind of an irksome thing. But I don't believe it's a requirement still. It's not a game breaker in any way. It's just something that I feel deserves to be mentioned. And the other component to the game, well, there's 2 things more, is that the dungeons themselves, for better or worse, are total dungeon crawlers. So this isn't an insult to the game, I'll admit, because if you've played a dungeon crawler in the last like 10 years, you'll notice how common this aspect of it is in this genre. But all the dungeons are basically like long corridors with turns and occasionally the big room with an enemy in it. And there's no like uniqueness to the corridors. You've probably heard me make this exact argument for multiple games throughout the course of our time recording on this show.
Oh, yeah.
But like, it's just something still worth noting going in. Nonetheless, is that, when you go in here, you're exploring, identity-free corridors. Like you're in a school, it looks like a school. You'll see like a vending machine on a bunch of corners, a couch here and there, which I don't think I've ever gone to a high school that has a couch in it, but this one does. Or if you go to like a shopping mall or nightclub, it's going to look like just a bunch of like stuff, but nothing that you can use to like say mark your way or identify stuff for the most part. But that's just kind of par for the course these days with dungeon crawlers. And the last thing is that I just wish the enemy variety was greater, because everyone you fight is a digihead or a lost soul or a loyalist or something else, but they're all basically variations of a high schooler who lost his marbles. So it might be like a melee guy or a guy with a giant like cannon in the air or a guy with 2 swords or shields or a bunch of other things. But while it's not a game killer, you will play the game and go, this is that guy, but now he's a higher level. That's annoying. But in the end, the game isn't insanely long either, so you're not going to be like drowning in like shield bashers or whatever. Now, the thing I really like about the game is the general premise of the title. The idea of people feeling so frustrated about their day-to-day life that they want to be trapped inside of the digital world as high school kids. is one thing. But once they start to learn about what they're doing there, in a lot of cases, they start to have to face the traumas that put them in there in the first place. And they're pretty intricate traumas. It's not like usually things like, oh, well, I just wish that, my favorite sundae didn't stop getting sold at Friendly. So I like just dump me in. Like these are actually like generally like adult type dramas, things that you'd expect adults to have to deal with. And I kind of like that aspect of it because they're basically forced to deal with these things as they're trying to escape this world that they're trapped in. And that was a lot and worth me trying to play through the game because I was like, I'm interested in seeing how these kids develop and where things go. Even though they do kind of just dump you into the world as a whole, I was still intrigued by that aspect of things. So is there a particular component that you were like, I'm curious about that, Pernell? You didn't touch. Oh, I should touch on that. One nice thing about the battle system.
You answered your own question.
I kind of did. The battle system that I mentioned earlier, every attack that you do uses something called SP, basically the magic gauge or whatever. And when you run out, you have to use a specific move called like Soul Charge, which allows you to boost up your SP. So there are no items in this game. Like you don't have a pool of items you can throw around and use. Everything is done by skills. So you have to be good at managing your SP. But the beautiful thing about it is that your SP and your HP refill after every battle. So you don't have that moment after fights where you're just doing an arbitrary dance around the menu, drinking potions to heal yourself. You can reserve all that junk for battles and using skills to heal when you need them or whatever. So I think that does draw out some of the tedium. It's almost like, hey, we gave you this dumb, social link thing, but in exchange, you don't have to heal after battles. That's pretty nice. So I do kind of enjoy that. I like the idea of like having to balance out SP use and attack combos and knowing when to run away and boost them up to get away from the skirmishes or whatever. And also all the different characters, I do like the fact that they all have specific battle styles. Like you'll get a character who is just all about launching enemies and doing quick power combos, but you'll also get a character whose gimmick is that they raise the I guess they call it risk level in the game, which is sort of, I consider it like a barrier because I didn't read a good explanation for it. But once you get it to a certain point, it goes into risk break, which allows you to do a ton of damage on enemies. But this character does specific types of moves and attacks when they get the attack with the risk level up high on an enemy. So it makes you choose specific characters to play with and utilize them to their fullest potential to make battles work. A lot of variety in combat in that way. Now, can you think of anything I didn't speak on about the game that you'd like me to touch on?
No, the only question I have is the usual one, $49.99. What do you think?
I think it's a definite try it. Like, I don't want to say buy it flat out only because of the aforementioned, like that weird social linky thing and also like the enemy variety. But if you're interested in a bit of an experimental battle system that I think brings a lot of charm to the gameplay in a way that I can't think of any other game that has made an attempt at something like this, which makes it worth trying heavily for someone like me. But also just kind of the plot and the premise is really cool too. So the gameplay I didn't find boring. It's just, I don't want to say definite buy it because there are definitely some like if you don't in there. So a hard try it.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir. I try.
I like hearing about the battle system. It sounds really cool.
It honestly is. Like, and that's something I think is interesting too, which I should also point out. When I read about like old reviews of the Vita version back when I was considering it, there were people that were claiming that there was a lot of slowdown and such in the battle system or whatever. And I can say that I did not experience any slowdown in the battles in this game.
Well, that's good to hear.
Definitely. That was a little bit of overdose they did there. So,
especially because you played on the Switch, right?
Exactly.
So it's good to hear that the Switch is running pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Get your battles on.
Next game to talk about is called Baba Is You, developed and published by Hempuli, released March 13th on the Switch for $15 even. Baba Is You is a puzzle game where you can change the rules by which you play. In every level, the rules are present as blocks you can interact with. By manipulating them, you can change how the level works and cause surprising, unexpected interactions. Pernell, tell us about it.
You just kind of did.
All right, then $15. What do you think?
I will say these things. Baba is great. Baba is very good. Baba rules. Baba is rules. Whatever. Point is, I really like this game. Like, way more than I expected to. I saw it on the Nintendo Direct, I guess a month or two ago. and it did not look visually appealing to me, and it didn't really draw me in. Like, a lot of times you expect a trailer to at least get you hyped for the release, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I got to get my hands on it and play it that I was able to see just what the true beauty of this game is. First and easiest thing to mention is just the music. The music is fantastic. It is perfect music for sitting down and trying to puzzle through an environment. And all the levels that I've done had great music on them that made me want to sit there, or not want to, but be content with sitting there as I fumbled and questioned and tried to figure out what the hell do they want me to do on this damn stage. But the more intricate thing about the game is the puzzles themselves. Just like how I mentioned that Caligula Effect had a battle system that I can't think of any other game utilizing, that is this game. I can't think of another game that has a puzzle system that works just like this, and at all. So the idea is that you start out on a level, you are Baba, the sheep. The game even tells you that because one of the rules is Baba is you. And then there are other things. There's usually the goal being to reach the flag. The flag that will show up on the map is the goal or the exit or whatever. So it'll say that one of the rules in the map will be like flag is goal. I can't remember the exact wording that they use, but it's something like goal. So at that point, your task was trying to figure out how to get to the flag. How to get to the flag and beat the stage. And depending on the types of objects on the map and the rules in existence on the map, that can be done in some wacky-ass ways. How kind of wacky ways? Ways that I have honestly finished levels and said, holy shit, that works? That's amazing. And that's what makes it weird to even try to describe something. I don't want to say any of the the crazier ones because that's kind of a spoiler and something you'd rather figure out yourself. But I'll give like a fake, phony example. So let's just say, for example, there's a flag behind water. All right. And you might think, okay, what's this water say? The rules will say water is wet and water is sink. Those will be the rules. So you can take on this situation in a number of ways. One, you can see a rock, and the rock might say rock is push, which means you can push the rock. And you might think, okay, maybe I can push this rock into the water, which will make the rock sink, and will that make a bridge for me to cross over? You can try it and find out. Maybe that will work. You might be able to interact with the rule for the water. Water is sink. Well, maybe I don't want the water to sink and not make me sink anymore. So you can figure out a way to manipulate that rule so that the water doesn't cause you to sink anymore. You might even want to change what the freaking goal is. Maybe you don't want to go over to that side of the map to get to the flag. Let's make the goal something else and then go to that. As long as the rules are manipulatable, you can change them and you can work with them in a way that you feel will allow you to solve the puzzle. And
that's interesting.
It's really interesting. Like I said, there was one in particular that I do not want to describe because I want everyone that plays it to experience it for themselves. But I was at work and sitting there with my boss getting coffee, and I just go, holy shit, that works. He goes, what? I was like, oh, I'm sorry. It's this game I'm playing. It's really cool. And he walked over, and he was like, what is it called? And I was like, it's called Baba Is You. And I actually explained the game to him at the lunch table as he was like, can you do that? I was like, no, you can't do that, but you can try this. He's like, oh, my God. I was like, yeah, right? And then you do this. I've never had that kind of situation where I'm at work like, dude, you got to check this game out. Look at me explain this to you. And he was intrigued by it. He wanted to solve the puzzle that I was working on in my game.
That's a mark of a good game right there.
It really is. It pulled someone else in that had no prior understanding of it. But once I was like, this is how it works, I go, cool, let me see if I can solve the puzzle you're stuck on. And we were talking through it. This game is the bee's freaking knees, and a prime example of looks can be freaking deceiving. And honestly, in motion, the game is adorable too, because the little sheep man is adorable. I love him. But I can't sing enough praises about this title. I did not expect it to be good. I did not expect to like it. And not only did I like it, it is probably one of my favorite games of 2019 so far.
Wow.
It says a lot because I've played a lot of games in 2019 so far. And
you have.
Yeah, right. And this game is great. I would have, if I had not played this prior, and say you reviewed this and you spoke of it the way I'm speaking of it right now. God, this is almost like self promoting myself. But you spoke of this game the way I'm speaking of it now, I would have paid for it full price, and I would have been damn happy with it, experiencing what I've experienced when I got it for free to review it. But that's exactly why something like this deserves to get the reviews it did, because I don't think visually it's going to pull a lot of people in. But I'm going to tell you, if you like puzzle games, holy shit, you need to play this. You need to play it on something. and you'll love it. It's good. And it's one of those stress-free puzzle games, too, because you're not being timed to beat the stages. You take as long as you want. They have an instant restart button if you want to just start the level over. They have a rewind button if you want to go like 3 steps back. If you have trouble visualizing where things are on the map, you can turn on a grid so you can see just where everything is placed on a grid. So you're like, okay, move it here, 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 done. It just does a great job. And the further in the game you get, more objects are introduced, more rule types are introduced. Like you eventually start opening doors with keys and crap. You can open and shut doors. Lava shows up, water shows up, crabs show up. There's little people that run around that push shit. Like it's it's good. It's just really good. And again, I think I jumped the gun, but this is worth your money. This is legit. And this is the kind of thing that doesn't come around very often as far as like these are games that are a little different. These are games that someone took a chance on and said, you might try this and like it because no one else has done this, so I'm going to be that guy.
Damn. That is high praise, man.
And deservedly so. This is a Pease pick.
Pease pick. Pease pick of the week. We have Cole's pick of the week and Pease pick of the week.
I feel like I'm jumping the gun because the episode hasn't been released yet, but what was Cole's pick of the week?
Well, she was on the last episode.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't on this one. Yeah, different. It's like you're my co-host for the Wednesday episode. She's my co-host for the Saturday episodes.
So I can take that.
That's how it is anymore.
Hey, it works, right? It's fun. Yeah. We chuckle. We eat cashews. Everyone wins.
Cashews.
Got a whole jar of cashews. And when this is done, I'm gonna get that orange vanilla Coke too.
You better, man. You better.
It's time. It's time.
Found that website to track it and everything.
That's right. If I don't drink it now, that's my own damn fault.
Yeah, it really is. So just pop your zip code in there, hit find, look for a bunch of stores that have it, and go fucking find it.
That's right. I'll drink product placement. I'll drink my orange vanilla Coke with my dill pickle flaming hot remix and my creamy dill pickle chip. Just, oh my God. So many pickle chips. I'll be eating and drinking all of those things soon.
I'm really interested in Baba Is You, though. Like, you fucking sold me on that. I say it a lot on this show that I'm going to pick up a game, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't have the money for it. Like, I'm sitting on a $10 eShop card. I got to find another $5 because I need to pick this game up with how you're talking it up.
It's worth every penny, man. It's really good. It's really good. Just, again, like, it's that sense of exploration. Like, 'cause think about it. Like, we play puzzle games. We play tons of puzzle games. It's usually tilt this block and fill in this hole, make these things disappear. You know, you can almost run down the line of like puzzle games. But can you think of anything where it's like, here's a bunch of rules, fuck them up?
No, I can't.
Yeah, manipulate them to your heart's content as long as the game gives you the means. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you'll see a rule, but you can't touch it because like it's tucked in the corner and it's intentionally there because the guy wants you to see the rule's existence, but he also wants you to not be able to manipulate it, so that's a rule that you are confined to. But a lot of times the rules are just out there or in a precarious place where you can get it out and manipulate it as long as you don't screw it up, or as long as you're smart about it. So yeah. It's just good. It's really good.
Awesome.
I need more cinema. It's spectacular. It's stupendous and grateful.
Well, don't use them all because you got one more game to talk about, and I love this game. X-Morph Defense, developed and published by EXOR Studios, released February 21st on the Switch for $19.99. A complete edition is available with all the DLC for $29.99, or you could buy the 3 individually for $5 each. Unique fusion of a top-down shooter and tower defense strategy. You are the invader. Use destructive weapons or lead your enemies into a maze of towers. Strategize in the build mode by carefully selecting various types of alien towers, or throw yourself right into the heat of the battle. Pernell, what did you think of X-Morph Defense?
This is another one that I did not expect to like, but I really did. It's, well, you just said it is a tower defense game, in which case you know what that genre entails. But I think it's the way that they execute it in this game that I found myself really enjoying. Because usually when I play tower defense games, it will involve, set up the towers, watch them work, and occasionally they might have the game where you can get in there and get dirty, but your guy is generally a weakling, and he barely has any business being out there. But in this game, you do matter, and the towers matter too. And it's something funny about the fact that you're basically the enemy in this game. You're invading Earth, and the military is trying to take you out. It's hilarious in that way. But what ends up happening is you get set up on a map, and there are like, let's just call them like, I don't know. I'm just going to call them processor cores or conversion cores, because their whole point is that they crash land on Earth and they're trying to make the environment inhabitable for the aliens and to eventually absorb the energy that the Earth has, like basically just drain the Earth. So while that core is there doing this thing, the military is showing up trying to destroy the core and also you and the ship that you pilot. And what happens here is that when they show up, your goal is to, when air enemies show up to attack you directly, you can pretty much just shoot at them. You're a flying vessel who has a variety of guns, most of which you have to unlock as you play through the game. But you at least start with like a charge gun and like a pea shooter. But you basically shoot them out of the sky. But there are also going to be ground units that will show up on occasion. And like a tower defense game, they run various routes on the ground. And you have to set up towers that can attack them, sometimes with bombs, sometimes with guns, sometimes with other guns. But you essentially set up these towers to try to blow them up or do as much damage to them as possible before they reach your core. And then you can, of course, come in later and sweep up the mess. When you lay down a tower, if you make two towers close enough to each other, you can create an electric fence. And that electric fence will block a pathway so you can kind of route how you want the ground units to progress through your stage, which is kind of cool. Though at the same time, you also have to be careful because you can only, like, you got to make sure there's at least one pathway from exits to the eventual core. You can't just be like, infinite loop. The game will not allow you to do that. And it's kind of funny because the game will tell you that as a rule, but they don't give you a valid reason as to why you would not be allowed to stop them from coming to your base. Just put up a bunch of walls. No, the guy says, you have to leave at least one way for them to fuck us up. Well, then, this is a very inefficient strategy, but it does make for a more fun game, because what fun would it be if you could just infinite loop all your enemies? Not very, I tell you that. But you have to also, when you're playing this game, there's two modes for your ship. There is normal mode, which is where you're flying around shooting jerks and killing them. But there's the other mode, which is called ghost mode. And when you go into that, you become a stealth ship so the enemies can't see or fire on you. But this is also the mode where you're able to put down your defensive towers, and also collect debris from exploded vehicles. This debris is used to generate more resources, which allows you to build more things. So that, coupled with just generally blowing guys up, is how you get the means of which to break things. But it's a quality game, and it's a challenge, especially when the bosses come out to play. They usually make you make solid use of your tactics regarding whether it be like using your different equipment, your different towers, learning how to target the proper locations on a machine to destroy it. Otherwise, in other words, you can't just like go bonkers shooting at whatever, because if you do, you'll run out of time and you'll lose. But if you're smart about how you attack the guy, you'll ultimately win. It's forgot to mention also, as you beat levels, you get means of which to unlock new upgrades for your ship and for your towers. That's ultimately how you end up becoming a better fighter. And also is how you add more variety to the gameplay, because the game will add new types of units and stronger varieties, whether it be air, like land or air, or land or air units, and like different proficiencies to those units. Like you might get units that are like more like stronger about, like, as far as like ground units that actually attack the air, whereas normally they didn't do that. But basically, enemy variety will pick up, and it will require you to be smarter about the types of weapons you unlock and switch between, and also the type of towers you employ to help defend your pathways. The game itself also has variable difficulty. I put it on normal because, again, I'm not much for tower defense games, so I didn't want to go bonkers in like hard mode or expert just yet. But I think now that I've done the review, I'm probably going to go back to it and set it on a harder one to give it the Pernell chop system.
Nice.
Because I have to give it that time. But all in all, I honestly found this to be an enjoyable game. I like the fact that it's a tower defense game, but for folks who have an itchy, twitchy finger, you're not left waiting in the dust watching things happen. You have to get down and dirty in this game or you will lose. Towers cannot do all the work.
Very true. And I love that the enemies in this game adapt to the towers that you set up. If you block off a pathway, they'll just go the next block over and go around you. So
that is.
You gotta be like herding cattle and putting them down the path that you want them to go on so you could take their asses out.
That is very true. Like you can, like that's part of like the game telling you, like, you can't leave it. You can't block off every route. But as you place new towers down, you'll see the line change to indicate, okay, now they're going to go this way instead. Okay, I don't like that they're going that way. That was a misplaced tower. So you can move the tower and shuffle it around to get it just right. You can finesse it. And that's actually that's happened to me a couple of times. I'm like, okay, screw this. This plan sucks. Put a wall here, force them to go back around that way, and I'm going to majority of my towers, and I'm going to concentrate my towers in this zone to make every path of tanks run through it, which is going to mess them up. Like it's like you said, it's corralling, and it feels good to corral them into your death trap.
Gotta love it.
The boss comes out and just blows them all up like a jerk.
Bosses are dicks.
They really are. Don't even give you pay raises or nothing. Just send you home without pay, and then give you a stupid performance evaluation that doesn't even do a fraction to tell them about what you're actually capable of doing at your job. It's just BS. It's all stupid. Also, I'm talking about a video game, not real life. But the point is, this is a quality game. Another case of didn't know what to expect out of it. Came away pleasantly surprised. A genuinely solid, fun game.
So what do you think? Is it something that you should just drop the $20 on for the base game, or is it worth dropping the $30 to get all the DLC included?
I want to say just buy the whole thing, specifically because this is one of those cases where I think the gameplay is solid enough that if you're the type of person that's going to play through a tower defense action game, you'll save the $5 by just getting it all in one package. And I mean, honestly, the game is it's not like a 60-hour epic or anything. You're not going to be dying for time loss or anything like that. So you'll be going for like high scores most likely. And you'll probably want as many levels as possible to kind of work this game system to its fullest. So honestly, I'd say just get the whole thing.
Sounds good. Yeah, I love this game. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Though it makes me wonder if I was like, this game is terrible. I hate the ship. I hate the corralling. I was thinking like, what the hell are you talking about? I played this game and you're on drugs. That would have been a cross interesting conflict of opinion there. Like, no, you're crazy. Like, well, I am of the opinion that the game should not have been called X-Morph. It should have been called Deadly Towers.
Isn't that already taken?
Maybe. We could have called it Deadly-esque Towers.
Deadly-esque Towers.
Deadly-ish. Deadly-ish Towers, Murderous Spires.
Murderous Spire. I like that one. Murderous Spires. I like that.
Murderous Spires Defense.
That'll be my next punk band. Murderous Spires. Pernell, it's always a pleasure having you on chatting. Do you have any final words before we move on?
I don't know, man. Just be mindful of those kids getting themselves bought into colleges. I mean, I don't know. Think of what it means for our society as a whole. I mean, who am I kidding? That's a dumb thing. I will say this though. This is going to be corny, but recycle more and not so much single stream, because that's the other thing I've been getting into lately. Is I'm trying to recycle more. As odd as that sounds, and not through the way of single streaming. I mean like the classic: take bottles to the store for deposits and putting cans into a bag and taking them to a recycle center. That level of recycling. So recycle more. There's the message.
All right, next game to talk about is called RICO, developed by Shatter, published by Rising Star Games, released March 14th on Xbox One, Switch, PC, and PS4 for $19.99. 2 cops, 1 case, and only 24 hours to bust the bad guys. Become a loose cannon police detective and face off with criminal gangs in this procedurally generated action movie FPS. Join forces with a friend and take down those crooks buddy cop style. As you heard him before, Chris Taylor, you're here.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Doing all right. Just went and saw Captain Marvel in the theater.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I told you this story before we rolled, but I just have to tell it again.
All right, let's hear it.
All throughout the movie, the guy, like, the theater was only like 25% full. But the guy sitting directly behind us was like shouting stuff at the movie sometimes, which, he was a young guy, so it just happens. And that's annoying, but it's not the kind of theater where you can get somebody kicked out for doing that. So we just tried to give him the stink eye whenever he did. And then as soon as the credits start rolling, not even like the post-credits scene, like there's 2 of them in this film, and he didn't even wait for one of them. He was like, all right, let's go home. And he and his friend walked out, and I noticed he had taken his shirt off and was leaving the theater completely topless. for no reason. And I was
shirtless
just thinking,
movie watching.
Yeah, I was just like, well, this guy clearly has a different idea of a night out at the cinema, so we just let him go. That was my...
I wonder if he games topless, too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, a guy that takes his shirt off in the theater probably doesn't keep it on in most other situations. Probably walks out of a funeral or something. Damn, I'm gonna miss Aunt Carol.
Sun's out, guns out, bro.
Slings his shirt over his shoulder and walks out of there.
Peace, bitch.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right,
bro.
So it was an enjoyable movie, and an enjoyable atmosphere.
Except for the talking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were talking about RICO though, right?
Yeah, RICO. How is RICO good?
Yeah. So yes, this is an interesting take on the first person shooter. Now I have to admit I'm not the world's expert on first person shooters. Certainly I played my share of, GoldenEye and Turok Dinosaur Hunter in the day. But certainly I haven't kept up with your Call of Duties and Destinies and whatnot. So it was interesting to get back into it, but this one has a real cool approach. So yeah, the game opens up before you even see like a title screen or anything like that, with a British-y kind of lady talking to you about the mission, and kind of explains away the fact that you're one of a force of troublesome cops, but your mission is to bring down a whole network of criminals who are running drugs or something. I mean, I guess they're running drugs or whatever. It's very much like whatever cops, go after criminals for in the movies. Certainly
criminals or criminals, either one.
Criminals, yeah. It's certainly incongruous with real life. But anyways, so it says 2 cops. There's actually several you can pick from, but I guess there's 2 main people. And so your task is to go and basically collect enough evidence at different crime scenes and different, I suppose, hideouts and things like that, in order to start a RICO case, which is, of course, we all know from The Dark Knight, the Batman film, what a RICO case is. And that's just basically where you're able to arrest and prosecute many criminals at the same time for being in a conspiracy, Yeah. So there's literally, I didn't know what that even was before that film.
Yeah, and it stands for racketeer influenced and corrupt organizations.
Oh ho! You've got the info.
I Googled it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I did no such thing.
Yeah.
So
Wikipedia, thank you.
Yeah. So that's, in theory, that is your mission. In practice, what you're doing is you're going into all kinds of buildings and killing everybody with guns, and then collecting briefcases and stuff for evidence. And I mean, by the time you're done with this game, I don't think they're going to have enough people to prosecute a RICO case. It's just going to end up being one person, whoever survived the onslaught of bullets. It's more... The game kind of has a little bit of a motto that it sometimes shows you on the load screen, and that's kick doors, shoot men. And I think that would have been a better title
than RICO. Kick doors.
Because kick doors and shoot men is the perfect description of this game. It's a 4-word synopsis that absolutely fits. So the game puts you into these buildings, and you wander around the different rooms, but every room is locked with a door, and behind every door there's going to be a certain number of bad guys. It's procedurally generated, so you're never going to know what the room's going to look like and how many bad guys there are and what positions they're in until you open the door, which you can only do by kicking it down.
Nice. There
is no door opening in this game. You only kick them down. So you kick down the door, and basically the game gives you about 5 seconds of slow bullet time, where you can then quickly assess the situation and then, kind of develop a strategy on the fly, and then go in there and try and kill all the dudes until the room's clear. The criminals in this game are nice enough to wait quietly behind any door that has not yet been kicked. So you literally do take it one room at a time. However, if you stick around too long in a room, or explore too much, then the game will just randomly send about 3 or 4 thugs after you, and you don't get the bullet time for them. They're actually sneaking up on you.
Oh.
Yeah, so you do have to kind of be on your toes about that. And then, so the game, like I said, is procedurally generated. However, between cases, a case is going into a house and shooting everyone in sight. We're going to call that a case. Or there are other objectives. Sometimes it's just collect evidence and then clear the house. Sometimes it's you have to shoot 9 bad guys in the head. You have to get 9 headshots. Sometimes it'll be like you have to take 3 down with a melee attack, which the melee attacks they're really effective. Like, I actually think they work better than bullets, but you have to click down on the right stick in order to do one, so I try not to do them because I don't like clicking down on a stick to do a function of a game. But every button does something, so I understand their need to utilize, every part of the controller. Anywho's, so where was I? Oh yeah, so between each case, which you can choose all the different branching out, kind of cases and things, and they'll rate them based on difficulty. So like your first, you might have 4 accessible areas that are like 1-star difficulty or maybe even a half-star difficulty. And then as soon as you beat one, it unlocks the next one in the path, which will be like 3 stars of difficulty, and then it just connects all the way to the end. A little bit like Bionic Commando or something like that. But anyways, so between stages, depending on how you performed in the stage, you'll earn merit points, which you're allowed to use in exchange for new weapons and augmentation on those weapons. So you can get a better sight for your pistol. You can get, what they call a duck spread for a shotgun. So you can get a shotgun that, spreads out further, so you can take out like 3 guys at a time with it. Nice. Real cool stuff like that. And, your merit points, you gain them between stages, and then you kind of just collect your weapons. But if you die at any point in any stage, you start over at the beginning of the game with only your basic loadout, that is to say 1 sidearm and nothing else really. So so
don't die.
Don't die, yeah. That's where this is a little bit roguelike. And between stages, the available to purchase things are randomized. So you never know at the end of the level what you're going to be able to purchase with your merit points. So you kind of have to do this dance of like, well, do I save them or do I use them? And the other thing is that your health does not refill between levels. So you have to spend merit points if you're at low health at the end of a stage in order to buy like a med pack if it's available.
Oh.
Yeah. One cool thing though is that they have an item called the Reviver, which is just a needle or whatever. And this will remind you a lot of BioShock, but basically if you get killed, quote unquote, where you take in all the damage that your health has, a new red level of health comes up, and you are basically on the floor, unable to move, but you can still move your gun around and shoot people. So if you're able to clear the room this way and not get shot again, you then have until that red number goes down to 0 to use a reviver, which, you see them like pull it out and like stick it into their chest or stomach or whatever. And that puts you back on your feet with like 30-ish health points, out of 100, which is good. And so, yeah, that's you're managing your health as well as trying to develop your arsenal and, pick out your favorite weapons. The weapons are very fun to use. There's like 3 different kinds of pistols that all have their own unique strengths, which is nice. I like the shotgun. There's 2 different machine guns that are really fun to use. I really didn't find a weapon I didn't like in this game. It was actually all really cool. And, each requires its own strategy. And of course, when you're busting into a room and you and you haven't reloaded your weapon. I've had this happen many times where I've busted down a door and aimed my shotgun, run up in slow motion to the first guy, and he's like barely turning around to see me. I go to shoot him with the shotgun, and then my guy starts reloading because I forgot to do it before I kicked down the door. So I just back out the door and refill my gun, and then just kind of let him come to me. And it's like blam blam. And it happens so often that I was like, maybe I shouldn't use the shotgun anymore.
Proud of you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm great. Anywho's, so that's basically the game. I mean, the goal is to try and get to the last stage without dying once, and to build up that arsenal. But that's in the case mode. So they also have a quick mode where it just picks a random stage and gives you, I think, random weapons, and you just go in and try and clear it out. So if you just want to play like a quick game with no real attachment to anything, they'll let you do that. You can also, of course, have a second player join the fun, which I didn't do because it's hard for me to find second players. And
yeah. You
can also do an online mode where you can actually, from your friends list or from a random online people, you can actually have a partner join you online. In theory, this game, as of this recording, is not out yet, so I have not yet been able to find anyone on the internet to. And in fact, the multiplayer leaderboards are empty, so I'm pretty sure nobody's found anybody yet who's
the
playing
joys
the game
of pre-release reviews.
Yeah, but that's still there, and it should be there by the time this thing launches. And that's always an option. Anytime you're even between levels, you can be like, I want to just go into an online thing, and it'll actually autosave your progress as long as you haven't died yet. So this is a game that you don't have to beat all in one go. You can just come back to it later. But as soon as you eat it, then you're back at level 1. And that's the other thing, is that this game does have an aspect of permanence, which I always look for in a roguelike. In this case, also depending on how well you perform in levels, your experience level will go up, and every time you gain a level of experience, then you get an aspect, a trait is what they call it, and it's 3 per character that you can assign, and take out, just customize your character in 3 different ways. And of course, the higher the level, the better the trait. So it's a little bit like a perk in a game that I won't mention because I keep mentioning it. But it's a thing that kind of helps you in your, helps you get along, and also makes the game a little bit more fun because it introduces some interesting things. So yeah, it's a lot of it's really interesting. The only complaints I have, the graphics aren't really going to wow anybody. This is a smaller game. However, I found the ragdoll-ness of it to be really fun. It certainly does the job of letting you, find your criminals that you have to shoot through the head, and taking them down without getting too. It's not it's kind of cartoony. Like, it's cell shaded. Characters don't explode in a giant mess of blood. They just kind of fall over and disappear, and there's blood splatters on the wall and stuff. This is so it's not like got that AAA title polish that first person shooters always seem to go for.
Yeah, but it's also not AAA priced.
Exactly. And I found it charming and functional, so I think it's just fine there. And of course, it seems like all the places that you go to are just these indoor places with a randomized map. It kind of has to be. The other thing is, I found the menus to be annoying because it's just kind of all over the place. There's just all these different things all over the screen, and you just kind of have to go highlight the correct one, and you don't always know where your cursor is, or if you push up or left to get to this other part of the screen. And it just I felt like the menu could have been a little more functional, but that's okay because I was able to make it. And actually, I didn't even test to see if those are touchscreen. I'm going to do that right now.
But yeah, minor gripes aside, $20 on it. What do you think of it?
$20, actually, it's not touchscreen, by the way. But yeah, $20. I think that it is a good game. I think it's definitely worth picking up, and certainly try to find a friend with it. I found myself really addicted to it. I kept coming back, and kept just going through these things. There's something really appealing to me about the randomness of the location. So you can't learn levels in this game. There's no way. It's always going to be random. And yet, like I said, when you kick down that door, then it's shoot or be shot. So it's like, I really like the aspect of kicking down the door and then like quickly looking over what's in the room and who's there and like, what you're going to have to do. And to have that like 5 seconds of, slow down to be able to like kind of develop a quick strategy and then, go to town. And it really makes you feel like a badass. So I actually had more fun with this game than I have with, AAA shooters that I've picked up and, tried here and there over the years. So yeah, this is kind of I think this is going to end up being kind of one of those hidden gems. And I'd really like to try out that online multiplayer when, more people are playing this and see if that actually holds up. Oh, and it interestingly gives you a bonus that the reason why they call it a buddy cop thing is because if you kick down the door at the same time as the other player, then you actually get a whole lot more slowdown time.
Nice.
So there's actually a reason to like try and, get into the room at the same time. But you can also just split up and like each take a room. It's kind of cool like that.
Nice.
Oh, and I think there's a physical version of this game coming out too, so you might look at that too. If just downloading is not your thing.
Yeah, I didn't know if a physical was coming or not.
I saw it on Amazon or something like that, so I don't know. I suppose it's coming out.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But you got one other game to talk about. That is called Blood Waves, developed by Light Road Games, published by Sometimes You. It's releasing March 15th on Xbox One, Switch, and PS4 for $9.99. Hardcore and bloody shooter where you will have to repel the attacks of the living dead using destroying traps, defensive barricades, and also weapon of close and long-range combat. Chris, tell us about this one.
You didn't read the ad copy that has the cleverer in it. They talk about some zombies being cleverer, and like when I went to look at other reviews of this game to see if there were any, that I kept running into that ad copy that people were just cutting and pasting. But anyways,
where was that one?
I think it's on like the actual Nintendo site or Metacritic or something like that. Like just the places where if you just Google Blood Waves, you'll see it pop up like 2 or 3 times where there's like actually no reviews. They just copied and pasted the ad copy, which that happens a lot with indie games. Anyways.
Oh, different types of zombies possess distinctive features. There are enemies with long distance attack as well as cleverer zombies avoiding certain traps.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I just like that paragraph.
Nice.
I had to ask my roommate if cleverer is a word.
Yeah, I just pared it down to the beginning area.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, okay, so Blood Waves. This is a third-person shooter, which also has a unique aspect to it, somewhat anyways. You play an unnamed heroine. The game, as far as I could tell, only refers to her as the heroine. And she is inside of I don't even know what part of the church you would call it, but it is a church. There's no pews or anything. It's just a big sort of kind of like just a giant octagon, essentially, with a statue of some holy person in the back there. And so the key to this game is that you are in this place. Apparently, it's the last bastion of any sort of standoff against the zombie hordes. Because as I understand, I don't think you actually go to any other location. Like the entire game takes place in this one room.
Yeah.
So you're running around, and the game starts you off with a bullet and a machete, which
they start you with a bullet. Yeah.
They start you with a gun that shoots bullets. Sorry. I'm
just one bullet, and you throw it.
I'm thrown off by the shirtless guy in the theater. It's still in my head. So yeah, you have a pistol with bullets, and basically, it's one shoulder button, puts you into aiming mode, and then the other one shoots. And as you start a wave, zombies just literally run right into that room and try to take you down. If you use a machete, then it uses up stamina points. There's a stamina bar underneath your life bar. Think of a certain fantasy RPG that's very popular that features melee combat that's determined by a stamina bar, and you'll have an idea.
Oh, boy.
So if you swing your machete, you can only do it so many times before, I guess, her unnamed heroine's arm gets tired and, she has to rest for a bit. And then, guns have limited, of course, ammo. And so you kind of have to figure out what's the best strategy there. But the machete is really powerful, so I actually found myself using it for the first wave. After the first wave, the holy person part of the wall actually moves back, and you're able to get behind it. And behind it is a decked out shop where you can purchase things to help you on the next wave. Those things are various traps. And, of course, all of these cost money, and you get money by shooting zombies, and you get a reward every time you clear a wave, and, of course, the rewards go up. You also get an upgrade point and a skill point. So you go back to this shop, and there's obstacles that you can purchase, and, at various prices, and they, of course, the really expensive ones are really nice. Like, there's literally one that's just a stack of chainsaws called the zombie shredder or something like that. So, pretty badass stuff. But early on, you can purchase, like, a turret gun. You can purchase spiky wooden, sort of, what do you call them, barricades? Just a barricade. And, then, you spend your money on that. You can purchase new weapons. You can get a shotgun or a machine gun or a rocket launcher if you prefer. And once you've purchased the gun, then you just you go back to the spot where the gun was, and you can purchase ammunition for the gun. So, you can either refill your pistol at, 7 bullets at a time for $100, which is
absurd.
It's absurd, but as I understand, that's like how much ammunition costs nowadays. So, thanks, NRA, for, anyway. So anyways, you have all that, and then you can spend a skill point on basically leveling up your character. Again, you can get a trait that goes up. You can increase her life, her stamina, how much, if she can do bonus headshot damage, things like that. And sometimes they cost, you can kind of see that there's like 3 different levels for each aspect. So, you have the potential of like gaining like 100, like at least 100 skill points from what I could tell. So that means that by the end of this game, you're going through many waves of zombies. And, then, of course, you can upgrade your weapons, and those cost upgrade points. And, it's just basically managing, your upgrades between stages, which is a lot like the other game I was just talking about. However, what it ends up being is that in this big empty room, you're able to place your barricades wherever you like prior to starting the next wave. So, in essence, this is a tower defense game. But in the guise of a third-person shooter. So, you end up like basically either blocking off the paths or just putting them around your character and keeping a small, movable distance. The zombies are, well, the ones that aren't cleverer will literally run right up to a barricade and start punching it. Like, they will leave you alone if you can get a barricade between you and the zombie. Now, all obstacles, of course, have a certain amount of endurance, and so a zombie can eventually break down your barricade. So sometimes it's a good strategy, for instance, would be to set up like, a couple of barricades next to an entrance and then put a turret in front of that. So the turret can kind of take them down while they're working on the barricade. And anything but the barricades can be repaired between stages as well. So you can you don't have to like repurchase everything unless it just gets destroyed straight up.
No. And
then there's some items that are invulnerable to regular zombie attacks, and only a zombie with a bomb in the middle of its skull can take those down. Which that really reminded me of Serious Sam, which is actually my favorite first-person shooter. So yeah, it's basically a thing of setting up the barricades and the turrets and stuff, and then just, letting the zombies come and trying to develop new strategies and the best, most economical ways to sort of manage your character and everything else. And, if you really want to risk the first few waves, then you can try and get the perk that lets you get a lot more money. But you kind of have to spend 3 skill points on that. So you have to get through 3 waves without improving your character at all, which I tried to do. Ultimately, it ended up being a lot more survival-y for me. So I wasn't able to cheese the game into being easier. It actually is pretty challenging, all said and done. So it's really it's interesting that it becomes more of a strategy game than a straight up shooter. And also what I found interesting is that since the whole thing takes place in one room, it's really all about the gameplay and developing strategies more than exploring picturesque, places or going to hell and taking the fight to the zombies kind of thing. It's just you just gotta save heroin, the lady.
Well, as it stands, $10 on it. What do you think?
$10 is certainly a good price for it. I would say, yeah, if you're a fan of tower defense and you don't mind a third-person shooter, that is to say, I personally do prefer first-person to third-person, but it certainly functions just fine. So as a third-person shooter, so if that is your thing and you enjoy the challenge of endless hordes of zombies that you kind of create, you can really get fancy with these barricades because the money does start piling on after a few waves, and you're like, oh, I can put up 30 barricades and let's see them get through that. And then of course the next wave comes and they do. So it's really interesting. It's kind of a surreal experience really when you think about zombie games and you think about something like, House of the Dead and, realize that you're actually just kind of holed up in one location just trying to fight off, these guys, just you in this inexplicable shop located behind a giant statue. So yeah, $10 if this seems interesting to you. I mean, it's certainly it's a cool game. I think it works just fine and it's fun to play. The soundtrack is interesting. It's actually really metal-y. There's just heavy chugging guitars all throughout this thing, and the double basses and stuff. Although interestingly, the music is so quiet by default. You can adjust it. It's you can certainly, you have to turn the sound effects down to 20% and keep the music at 100 and then just crank the whole thing, because in order to get real metal in your face while you're fighting these zombies. And I just think there's something comical about really quiet metal. So but yeah, no, I actually found myself really enjoying the soundtrack. I do like a hardcore soundtrack when it comes to shooters, so I was happy with that. There's not really any complaints to this game. Just don't go in expecting a full-on adventure or anything. You're not gonna, as far as I know, you're not gonna leave that church. Yeah,
it's just a wave shooter. So
it is a wave shooter. Yeah, it's a tower defense game, and that's your tower, man. So yeah, definitely pick it up if you're if that's interesting to you.
Awesome, sounds good. Chris, always a pleasure having you on. Do you have any final words?
Don't take your shirts off in the theaters, boys.
Final game to talk about tonight is called Kingdom 2 Crowns, developed by Noio, published by Raw Fury, released December 11th on Xbox One, Switch, PC, and PS4 for $19.99, and is a part of Xbox Game Pass. In Kingdoms 2 Crowns, players must work in the brand new solo or co-op campaign mode to build their kingdom and secure it from the threat of the Greed. Experience new technology, units, enemies, mounts, and secrets in the next evolution of the award-winning MicroStrategy franchise. Checking this one out. Jacob, Garner, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm alive and kicking, and I'm just about through this episode, so I'm ready to relax. So chop.
Jeez.
I don't have time for your shit right now.
Rude.
I know. I kid. I'm excited that we're getting to check this one out. I enjoyed the first game in this series, and I've been wanting to know more about the second one, so tell me about it, Jacob.
Well, I've never played the first one. Isn't there more to it than just the one?
I think there's an original Kingdom, but that's not on console.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I thought it was like it was like a legit franchise, but
yeah, I think Two Crowns might be the third game.
That's confusing.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah, I mean, like, you think it would be Three Crowns,
but it's the second on console. So
Three Crowns, Three Furious.
Yes.
All right.
Anyway.
So, like, the game bills itself as like a strategy game, but I'll be honest, it really doesn't tell you what to do. In fact, it's actually like one of the things that I didn't like it, but pretty much what you're doing is you're building your camp, like, or empire, however you want to look at it. You're expanding your empire by like chopping down trees and like building up like new buildings and fences and stuff like that. And then like you're doing stuff. I don't know. It's like at nighttime sometime. Well, it's like the game doesn't explain itself. Like, I mean, you're supposed to just go off of like the very beautiful visuals, which, by the way, I mean, it's just like it's pixel art, and it's just absolutely stunning to look at. Like, this is gonna sound weird, but I just enjoyed like watching the river go by my camp. Like, it just like the graphics are just glorious for what it is. But yeah, it was just like, you just find all these hermits around, you throw coins at them, and they come to your camp, and then you give them jobs. Like, you could make them an archer, or you can make them a farmer or a builder. And then it's just like, as I said, sometimes at night, these like little like goblin things, which I guess is what the greed is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Sometimes they'll like try to break down your walls and like steal your coins, or like if they touch any of like your little hermit guys, they'll steal like their bows or their like or like their scythes if they're a farmer, or their hammers, and then they go back to being hermits again, and then you have to rehire them and like retrain them and stuff like that, which is, I suppose it's kind of helpful, because if you've got like too many builders and not enough like army guys, then, you know, I guess you can like rebrand. Well, you can rebrand them after like they get attacked, like, because it's like, it doesn't seem like anyone actually dies. It's just they leave you until you throw more money at them. So they're like prostitutes.
Nice.
Dirty prostitutes.
They're battle whores.
Battle whore. Ooh, I like it. The first game from SML Games. Battle whores.
Rated E for everyone.
We're bringing it back to the KA rating.
Oh, God.
For kick-ass. Anyway, so like you have to like go explore like the kingdom, and like, because it helps you, like, first off, it gets you more coins as you'll like randomly stumble upon like treasure chests and stuff, but like you'll find a boat that you can build. You'll also find like ancient temples that you have to put gems in, and other stuff. And it's just like, it's very beautiful to look at. The downside is that your horse sucks, and he gets like, it's honestly, it's like if you were using me to like for piggyback rides, like I just get winded really quick, as does this horse.
No boy.
Yeah, it's just like you run like, 100 feet, and the horse is like, so like,
I like your impression.
Thank you. I coincidentally, it's also what I sound like, when I'm,
after you walk up steps.
Well, I was about to say the knuckle shuffle, but yeah, we'll keep it G-rated.
Sure. Let's start now. After the whole episode, we'll start now and keep it G-rated.
So yeah, and it's just like you keep doing this, and like the greed will attack you, and it's just like sometimes like there'll be a shitload of them. So thankfully, you have a bunch of archers. Like some are on, like some are on the ground, some are up high, and like they can easily nail them. But it doesn't seem like you can actually lose in this game. It's just, you just have to keep rebuilding and figure out what you need to do. So that's kind of neat. At least I never lost, or at least everything didn't go to complete shit when I was playing. But as I said, the game doesn't really explain itself what to do, like what you're supposed to be doing. So, I would have appreciated a tutorial more so than just press X to throw coins at your battle whores. Other than that, it's peaceful. It's generally calming, except when you're on the run from the greed, and the greed are little quick little shits too. And of course, it doesn't help that your horse is oh God, can we stop for a slushy, please? So it's just it's an interesting, odd game. I don't know quite what to make of it, to be honest. I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Which I guess the thing that matters is that you're having fun with the game.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't mind it. I mean, it's one of those, as before we started recording, as I was saying, it's just here I am, I don't know if I could really play this game for 2-3 hours on a clip. Meanwhile, right before we were recording, I just played for an hour and a half, So it's just the time does pass as you're playing it, and you don't really notice it either. So it is easy to get sucked into the world of Kingdom 2 Crowns. So
it sounds like the only real downside is it could use a little more guidance.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I don't understand why I can't kill the greed on top of my horse. I'm this big samurai looking guy. Where's my sword? Why can't I hit them with my sword? I don't know. But I
don't know either. You're the one who played it, not me.
Well, the game doesn't actually have a guide. It's really I thought that was really weird. But I don't. Is the first game is the other game like this?
Yeah, it was kind of figure it out as you go kind of deal. I enjoyed my time with the first game, so I'm eager to fire up the second one. I didn't even realize it was on Game Pass. It slipped my mind, so I'm excited that after this, I'm going to play it.
Yeah, that's handy.
Yeah, I wish I would have remembered earlier. But as it stands, $20 on this one. What do you think?
$20. I don't know. For a game that I'm not sure what the heck I'm doing in, $20 seems a little steep. I think you said the first one was 15.
Yeah,
I'd be more okay with 15, but $20 isn't bad either. The visuals are gorgeous. It's easy to pick up and play. I mean, granted, you really don't, as I said, you don't know what you're doing, but it is addictive. So $20 isn't a bad price for it. If $20 is a little steep for you, then just check it out on Game Pass and, go from there.
Exactly. The beauty of Game Pass.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I like it. I recommend it. So
sounds good.
Out.
Check it out. Awesome. Good stuff, Jacob.
Cool.
All right. Well, that is it for this episode. Thanks again to everyone else who came on and did their thing. I guess thanks to you as well. I might as well.
Oh, thanks. This is I think it's the 5th time in the history of the show that you said thank you.
Well, it's the 5th time you've been on.
I think I've been on more than 5 times.
I don't remember. I'm too old to remember this shit.
Of course.
Get off my lawn. Oh, man. Well, yeah, that's it for this episode. Jacob, do you have any final words to end it?
I don't know if you just saw, but Netflix is going to be doing a Dragon's Dogma anime.
Oh.
Yeah, they just announced it today.
Are those your final words?
Yeah, we'll go with that.